To go live. Hey, everybody. We are getting ready to go live here, setting everything up and taking a peek at what is going on. We decided we're going to start a little early. So you're going to hear Colin and I, just kind of like what we ramble about normally before we chat. So good morning, Colin. Um, feel free to let's chat about what in the world is happening with the energetics now in terms of like storms. You're in the middle of storms over there.
Yeah, we had a severe storm on Friday, and Saturday it was okay. And then today it started raining again, but the winds picked up. So if I disappear, it's because the Wi-Fi signal's unreliable.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi signal has been unreliable in many places. This is so funny. Good morning, Barrett. Nice to see you. It's been really interesting because I have noticed that even just working on, I'm getting all these in the different places that we need to go. So I apologize for me feeling like I'm not paying attention. But I've noticed that I was trying to make recordings for people, like for my students, right? Just little blurbs of what was happening. And nothing would upload. And then everything would literally disappear as if I never recorded it. And it's nowhere to be found. I mean, it's floating in the cloud somewhere, but
Yeah,
I can't find it in like anything else. It's the strangest thing.
yeah,
So
no, we the we awakened ones. We once was spreading the good news, who telling people who we actively involved are under major attack at the moment because everything that we put out there is gathered, is information gathered and analyzed, and they've got algorithms. And how these algorithms work is amazing. I won't go into it, but I know how they work. But so everything you say and everything I say and everything else, all the other awakened people are saying on the internet is gathered. It's information. And like you say, how do they gather? Do they listen to our shows? No, they don't listen to our shows because our shows are video shows and videos have metadata.
yeah,
And it's the metadata that gets analyzed, okay? Because in order to produce a video, you need the metadata to actually have the video. So it's all the metadata that gets analyzed on this planet. And it's vast. People have no idea how vast this information gathering system is. I've started posting about the international deep state and how it works. And people say, it's going to take me many, many posts to explain it because people will not understand how vast that network of information gatherers are. You know,
yeah, I know. It's very detailed. But I know I have no doubt, Colin, you're going to be able to take that and put it in a language that everybody can understand because that's what you do. You're here to you come in with this vast um, knowledge, like we all do, but who's accessing it, right? Not a lot of
yeah,
us are accessing it. We don't know how to, but you're able to go in and take these pieces and put them together and then make it available for everybody to understand. And if somebody doesn't, then they just say, hey, can you explain this a different way? And lo and behold, here you are able to explain it a different way. That's what it's like to be, a master at something, a master sharer, of information. And
yeah,
this is what I love us coming together. The Those of us that are awakened to the level of being able to share the information and get it out to people. Who are we? What are we? Why are we here?
yeah,
How does
yeah,
this work? How do our bodies work? Um, I know you guys are hearing us. Hello, Angela. Hello, Anne. Hello, Nancy. Hello, Jeremy, Cherry. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's so great to see everybody. Um, I am like, I see us frozen. I can see Colin totally live, perfect on the Zoom, but I see us frozen on Facebook. So I'm assuming you guys are just able to follow right along. Um, and uh, and see us. I'm trusting you can see us, and I'm seeing a frozen screen. So it's just going to be like, there it is. Hello,
Yeah,
Angela. Hello, Sharon. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Beautiful. Well,
yeah,
I love that we kind of did our chit chat here live while we were getting this stuff going. You guys, I feel like, oh, thank you, Patrick. Video's fine, he said on his side. So this is good. And just as a reminder, as people are popping in, we popped on early. So you're catching what Colin and I often just chat about before we go live. But he is having some storm issues over there and some internet things are happening. So trust that if we get blown out, we'll try to bring it back on. If not, we're going to continue to pop on another day in the week and another time, and it'll be fine because what we are going to get out is very important. And they can read all the metadata they want,
yeah,
right?
yeah. In 2003, I awoke, but I really was a bit of a reluctant waker upper
I love it.
because I was living a different kind of lifestyle and, sex, drugs, rock and roll. I was a single guy having the time of my life, having, a good job, nice car, good house, swimming pool, lots of friends, going to the pub every night. One of these these fellows well found. And then I started having these experiences with other dimensional beings. And I won't go into the details here, but I was very skeptical at first when this all started happening to me. I thought this is just my imagination. This is not true, but I was used to like tripping out on drugs. So I just thought, well, this is just another trip.
I've never had the luxury of that, so I'll take your word for it. I trip in the normal sense, so
Yeah, yeah, and so I'm well aware of the effects of psychedelics on people's minds and their on their consciousness. But over a period of 3 years, from 2003 to 2006, I had some intense, very intense training and teaching that yanked me out of this lie that we've been told that we are physical beings having a physical experience, when in fact we are spiritual beings, energy beings having an energy experience, and our energy in our soul bodies creates the experience. So it's totally reverse to what we have been told here. And when it began to dawn on me that this might just be true, I went through a very, very dark period of about 3 months where I doubted everything. Um, and it was almost like I entered what people call the dark night of the soul, when you want to understand something, but your consciousness just can't accept it,
yeah.
because being so indoctrinated uh, with lies and dogma. And I, at that stage, I was 53 years old, and the dogma was really set. I was set in my ways, and
Can't teach an
and,
old dog new tricks kind of
yeah.
theory. Yeah.
But my higher selves, who appeared to be, the first one was someone, he called himself Maha, and when his name means Mother of Earth. He's a higher dimensional being from the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension. And he was there to teach me and prepare me to meet another dimensional being who is myself in another dimension. Okay, now this might sound pretty crazy to people, that how can you be in two places at the same time? But he is literally another me in another dimension who came here, who agreed to come here and incarnate as Colin Byrne. And so he is well aware of me, but I was not aware of him. And he understands why not. And so it's all part of a much bigger plan to rescue this earth, and they, in meeting them, I discovered that they had a totally different consciousness
Yeah.
from the people on earth, and I'll explain that as we go along. But one day I said to my higher self, I used me, who's from the seventh, eighth, and ninth dimension. I said, why haven't you come to earth? Why don't you tell people about yourself? Why don't you appear to people? And I could see from the expression, because he didn't have facial expressions as we do, but he had big eyes, and you could see his eyes changing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked at his eyes and I thought, he's really confused by this question, and then he thought about it for a little bit, and then he said, well, do you understand what human beings are?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no, well, what do you mean? He said, we don't view humans as individuals. We view them as a species. And if we want to interact with the species must have certain um, conformity to the universal laws and the universal ways. And he said, if you look at the human beings as a species, they are terrible.
We are.
He said, you're the only species in the universe that eat children, that eat your young. You're the only beings in the universe that eat other humans. Says you create wars against each other and kill each other. You steal from each other. You break all laws, all universal laws. And so we consider you to be terribly unstable, unpredictable, and desolate.
Yeah.
But having said that, human beings have the God seed planted within them. And our connection to our higher selves is deeply ingrained within us, but we are just not aware of it. Okay. And many beings who are on this planet at the moment are from other planets, like I am. I'm from Sirius B. I'm in that time space continuum and reality. I'm a blue skinned feathered being with big beautiful eyes, uh, and I'm 10 foot tall, and so the scalability of our understanding needs to adjust to understand that we are far greater than we are told. And that's what they were there to do, to help me to bring that message to humanity,
Yeah.
that we are soul beings. We are eternal, sovereign souls. What does eternal mean? Eternal means we never die.
Infinite. Yeah. Yeah. We never die.
We
We
live
just go
many,
back to source.
yeah, we live many lifetimes and have many different experiences, and all those experiences are there to refine our souls, you know. and to teach ourselves. We are our own teachers, and it's by our own choice. And humans living on this planet now have lived for a very, very, very long time,
Yeah. Yeah.
millions of years. And when I say lived, we've had many, many experiences over many, many lifetimes in different forms. We come as amoeba,
Yeah.
germs, viruses, and bacteria, and then we grow from there, and then we become other species, and we maybe be swallowed by a fish. So then we get acquainted with the aquatic world, and the aquatic world helps us to understand the DNA of fishes, and and we get incorporated into the fish because they've basically eaten us. So we incorporate all these experiences over millions of years to emerge as humans. And, and humans are very ancient beings, really, in a sense. And what makes humans different from other species here is that we have this gift of volition, of free will. We can make choices. We can make conscious choices, whereas not all animals are able to do that. Some are, believe it or not.
Yes.
Uh, the whales, the seal, the porpoises, many other species, elephants, for instance, are amazingly conscious beings, and I consider them to be far more advanced than human beings, actually,
Yeah. I'm
in the way they conduct themselves. Yeah.
I think it's there's some really important pieces that you're saying that a lot of people aren't um, taking into consideration that, and I love that Anne is chiming in here saying DNA codes, cellular antenna. Yes, every like what Colin is sharing when we go through these different molecular structures of self, right? We are learning. I like the cellular antenna that word you're using, and because it's we are learning every aspect of what it is to be here on Earth as Earth's imprint, right? And so when we come into this very dense planet, which is moving into higher frequencies, we are taking on all of the events, all of the traumas, all of the miasmas, all of the memories of what the planet has, and the galaxy, the universe, all of it has gone through already.
Yeah.
And as those structures begin to build and we begin to mutate into being higher functioning um, amoebas, higher functioning energy structures, higher functioning electromagnetic frequencies moving into manifestation of being a human being created by continue, because this is like there's all these things that you don't just get to go to school because we go to cabal school, right? We go to cabal school, the cabal learning. He who created the history books and the teachings are the ones that keep us further from the truth. So
Yeah.
um, and this is what's happening now, because the vibrations are getting so high, our electromagnetic bodies are shifting and changing, and it's awakening these cellular structures and antennas. We're designed to be 12 strand DNA beings, and
Yeah.
and we're not using it, so here we go.
Yeah. And I should just explain to people that when you first meet higher dimensional beings, it's very scary.
Yeah, it is. It's
They
disruptive.
don't look like
At the
us.
very least, it's disruptive at the very least. It's one thing to see it in your mind, it's another thing to see it in front of you.
Yeah, but that's because we've been so attached to the visual aspect of life, and we
Right.
don't understand energy. And once you get when I started to interact with these beings, my higher self explained to me before I started doing that, you have to interact on an energy level.
Yeah.
Okay, now what does that mean? Our thoughts and our emotions are energy. Our thoughts and emotions are driven or guided by our values and standards. And they are expressed in the way, in the attitudes we have, and through the words and actions.
Yeah.
So unless one understands that thoughts and emotions are energy, okay, and that's who we are. We are thinking, emotional beings who have free will. We can make choices, and those choices will be guided by our standards and values. So if we have low standards and values, we will have low outcomes. Uh, and if we have to learn new attitudes, because as I've explained to other people, in my courses, that we experience our reality on a timeline. But here's the news that people have to be aware of. There are 1,728 timelines running concurrently. Okay, you say, well, how does that work? Well, when you're watching a television program, you're watching a program on a certain frequency channel.
Okay, and Colin is frozen. I don't know if you can hear me. So I'm just going to give his internet a minute as we have been having some issues uh, with storms on his side. So I'm just going to put a bookmark in um, the frequency channels and how that's going to pull through. And then when he unfreezes, we'll go back to that. Yes, the architect, free will in the matrix. This is really interesting. I'm loving what Colin is saying because when we are the idea of the yeah, you just hear me. That's correct. Um, I'm just gonna, he just got kicked out for a second, so I'm gonna give him a moment to pop back in. So when we are in the idea of thought, there is like a consciousness, a mass consciousness within each um, thought or theory. And so when we move into these frequencies, there is the range of all of these thoughts and emotions. And so when we are not in alignment, Colin is talking about right actions and all these different pieces that get woven into how we what he's getting to is how we manifest and how we become our best selves and how we are in the highest frequency of alignment or attunement to uh, universal laws and frequencies. Here he comes. Perfect. Ah, there you are. And so I'm going to let him take that back over because when we're in the highest values of these thought processes, that's when the manifesting starts to happen, right? And so and then I'm going to let Colin take back over talking about how our thoughts are on the linear timeline watching a television. Thank you, Colin. So happy you made it back.
Yeah, unfortunately, my internet disappears momentarily. It has been for two or 3 days now. Yeah, but it's so you have these concurrent timelines. Now, what is the timeline? A timeline is information traveling along a wave over a particular space time period. Okay, but people think that time starts when they're born and time ends when they die. That's not true,
No.
because a wave comes from somewhere and it's going somewhere, and it works in a particular way. And this, all the waves around the earth are like the a toroidal field. A toroidal field is like a donut. Okay, it has that. In the center of the donut, you have what they call the central vertical energy, which connects to other donuts in our reality field. And these fields have electromagnetic energies running in opposite directions around that donut, and that creates the toroidal field. Now, we are all, in a sense, have a toroidal field of energy around us, and that's what we are. Okay. And it just depends, in that central vertical energy is determines the experience that you'll have, what frequency you tune into. And in that center of that toroid is your will and what you choose. And the magnetic field is created by the emotions, and the electric field is created um, by our thoughts. So, in a sense, we are creating our own hologram, but we are not, because
And if you can hear me, Colin, you've paused again. And I like to leave these pieces up to Colin to understand how the toroidal field works and how the vertical channel works. So when I see the vertical channel, I imagine my own vertical channel we see. And so when we're in not in alignment with universe, our vertical channel is really small. So it's hard to flow the energies and put right thought and process together. Now, the more that we're in tune and the more we begin to understand the electromagnetic fields and purposes of the bodies, because we are more than one body, this vertical channel begins to open up. So, when people talk about center points, vertical channels, we're actually a combination of vertical channels, horizontal channels, and diagonal channels. And so, as the vertical channel widens, we are more in alignment with creating a larger toroidal field and creating more higher level frequencies. And you were just talking about, um, continue on. I was just going over the vertical channel in a little, even like smaller way of explaining it. So,
yeah, because there are many toroids, and we just think of a singular toroids. One, you know, works with others, and there's a massive amount of energy. If
yeah,
one understands that physical material reality or physical material matter is uh, 0.001% of the universe.
right. Yes. And you were
The,
just talking about how we are, in a sense, creating our own hologram, but not really.
yeah, yeah, and the reason we're not creating our own hologram is because we buy into all the crap that we've been told.
Yes.
All the
How much-
lies and indoctrination that have been going on this planet, and they're still going on, as we've seen recently with this little plan that's being carried out
I'm
by
just
the
telling you what, it's a smash and grab right now. It's literally a smash and grab. And
yeah,
it's so it's so childish, but
yeah,
but so important at the same time. I'm not trying to like diminish the importance of what we're witnessing because it is very important to witness it. But
yeah, yeah, and people should, I
and then he's gonna freeze again and then probably kick out and come back in. But yeah, let's just chat about the personal will center. So there's actually within the entire chakra system, we have many, many chakras, and we're really only taught about 7 of them. And it goes well beyond that. And then for those of us who have studied even a little bit further than that, they probably would then see the chakras and then oh, yeah, I'm going to get to what Patrick is saying. They would see the seven chakras and then maybe an additional like 10 spheres and how that plays into our realities, which is a usurped version of our 12 tree grid. Um, and anyway, when more harmonic universes open up, then we get a whole nother set of access. Okay, perfect. Um, there you are.
Yes. So if
I
I'll
don't
continue.
mind. Like, I'm okay with this, right? We're just gonna set the wind silks up over in South Africa and do the just amplify that and run some new frequencies through, right?
Yeah, so there is a rescue mission going on that's been going on for a long, long time. And in a sense, my higher self, uh, Ismir and Maha, what they were doing were coming to rescue me, okay? Because they realized the danger that I was in personally here. Because one of the things that worries the higher dimensional beings here is that humans have developed the ability to create nuclear bombs and nuclear energy. And that has the potential to fragment not just matter, but souls.
Right.
And
Yes.
that is inviolate, inviolate in the universe.
Yeah.
And then I learned how much respect our higher selves for that universal law is. That they have deep respect. So let me explain why humans are so different from alien beings. In the first place, alien beings don't see themselves as being separate from anything else. They don't have the same separation consciousness that we have. And because they understand the science and they understand their energy, they understand that everything is just one field of consciousness. And in that sense, what is consciousness? Consciousness is just those streams of electromagnetic fields running around the toroid. And they're all part of one big toroid, and with many other smaller toroids within them. And it's just one big field of consciousness. But humans separate themselves from each other. And because our higher selves, I first met them, I never met a group of higher beings until 2006 when I met my higher self. And even then, we were surrounded by a mist so that I couldn't see outside of the mist. But he told me certain things, and he told me, beware of your thoughts and your emotions, okay, and just stay neutral as you can, and just observe, because if you express anything in your thoughts and emotions, it will change the reality you're going to experience.
Yeah. Yes.
So, so once I understood that, the mist began to disappear. And there was this large group of people, beings around me. They were mostly blue avians, but there were also some tall white beings wearing white cloaks and very golden colored hair, but very white skinned, also big eyes, but they were also 10 foot tall. And they were called the gold and silver ones because of their gold hair and the silver of their robes. And I looked around at these beings and I thought, oh, stay neutral, stay neutral. My first thought was, are these people going to eat me?
Of course. Of course.
Or are they going to kill me? But I just suppressed that, and I just sat in neutrality. And they looked at me and I looked at them, and I think they were waiting to see what response I would have, you know, whether I would show fear or anger or, worry or concern. But I just deep within myself resolved to stay neutral. And I just observed it because, like I thought, well, this is just another trip, it's like, I don't have to react on this.
I'm just gonna ride along and just riding the wave.
Yeah, just go with the flow. And so we observed each other, and then I could begin to hear their thoughts because they were telepathing to me. And they were telepathing such loving thoughts like, we love you, welcome here, uh, we're so grateful that you came, and messages like that.
Yeah.
And after my initial response, I just kind of walked up to these beings and hugged them. It's very difficult hugging a 12-foot tall being because you kind of staring into their navel. But I just wanted to make them aware that I loved them as well, and I was very grateful for the experience they were giving me. And so we established that kind of rapport of love. And love is the most important thing there is in the universe.
Mhm.
And our higher dimensional selves know how important love is, because it's like a harmony. The key note on any frequency is love. It's like an orchestra. The, the conductor will um, have all these musicians tune into a certain frequency. And when they're all in tune with each other, that frequency, then it creates a harmony when they begin to create music. And in the universe, the central frequency is love, and it's very difficult.
It's I think love is not only is it the highest frequency, it's the most important. And it's not very many people at this time, in this time, have the Uh, well, most everybody I've noticed has the want to express and be love and feel love, but there's still so much miasma, soul splintering that has happened that people will uh, give love, but expecting something in return, which is not love,
Yeah,
right? And so it's a really so people there are a lot of people giving out a static version of love, and um, for it feels static. It feels like ew. No, thank you. Right? It like runs up your vertical channel and up your spine if you allow it to. And it's like, yeah, that frequency is not going to work. Right? Love just it just is, and the music that comes from it and the music that emanates from your body is astounding. It can move you to tears just being in that space with
yeah,
somebody who is vibrating at that frequency.
yeah. Because people don't understand that love creates other notes
Yeah.
in a musical scale. So you get love, and the next note is grace.
Mm.
And love and grace work together. You cannot have love where there isn't grace. Now, what is grace? Grace is unmerited favor of not expecting anything in return, but just giving of oneself.
Thank you.
So love steps down into grace, and grace just gives.
Yeah.
And we look at a graceful and a loving universe, and it wants to give it, and that's the very nature of reality in the universe. And after my experience with the higher dimensional beings, it changed my life forever, because that was the first time I really experienced love. And love does have a power to change this world and to change us as people. It changed me. From that day on, I was a different person. Sorry about that.
No,
But
it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful when we are in right alignment and we open our hearts and we surrender. We surrender and say, yes, Barrett, unconditional. Yes, it's a surrendering that we do. It's I don't have another word for it. And lately I find um, language which is not organic to humanity. Language is a forced program that we use, and so love doesn't even the word love doesn't even cover what love is. Love is a frequency. Grace is a
oh,
frequency, and these beings emanate these frequencies. And there's like no need to be sorry for how this expression comes through, right? Because it is so moving and it is so powerful that it's like that's all we can do. Sometimes it's just cry. We weep, and then once we've experienced this kind of love that you're talking about, Colin, we can't help but then weep even more for humanity, for how far we have fallen, right?
yeah,
I was sitting in nature just this weekend and I had thought, even to myself, no matter how much closer we think we are, we're still so far away. And I was listening to the trees and the ground and the bugs and the buzzing, and it, everything is in sorrow right now. Everything is in transition and is in sorrow, and it's weeping. The earth is weeping. And this is a good thing, I think, because it is bringing forth the transformation and the purging that needs to happen to bring all of this into awareness, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. In 2014, after I'd done 8 years of good work, I thought when I volunteered in 2006 to become a grid keeper, that was it. That was my purpose on this planet. And then 2014, I was told, well, the grid working was over. We've been successful in restoring the Earth's grid lines. Uh, and then I got a big download of information from them, and it was very confusing for me at the time. But my higher self eventually, we had many discussions about it, and he started sorting it out. And I said, well, what do you want me to do? And he said, well, go tell everybody what you know.
Mhm.
And I said, well, I don't, I know this stuff, but I don't know how to tell people.
Yeah, right.
So he said to me, remember this, if you can't explain something in simple terms, then you don't understand it yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
And when he said that to me, I realized that that's exactly the way I was taught. Because when I was going through my awakening, I asked loads of questions because at first I was a skeptic. And then I became interested. And then I wanted to know more and, started asking all kinds of questions about quantum physics and quantum science and
Hmm.
um, quantum mechanics. All this stuff was foreign to me beforehand, but they always try to make it simple for me to understand. And often my question was followed by a question. So I said, well, what about this? And they would say, well, have you looked at that? I said, well, I haven't looked at that. And they said, well, go look at that and then
Come back.
we'll answer the question. So it's an interactive process of awakening. Awakening is not just being given a plate of food in front of you to go and scoff. You have to interact. You have to go and find the plants. You have to go find the food. You must know how the food grows and where it comes from, what nutritional value it has. And then when you cook it, you have to decide whether you're going to eat it raw or you're going to eat it cooked. And why would you eat it raw instead of eating it cooked? And uh, and you go through this whole process of questioning and answers and questioning and answers. And when I say answers, they aren't, I would ask a question, I would get a question. And so I'd have to go become the answer to my own question. I have to research it and look at it. And that's how I was taught. And so they said to me, go teach other people the way you were taught. So I'm teaching people to start questioning everything. Go and do your own research. And many people are saying this. I was watching a show yesterday when I think Charlie Ward was the guy who said, go do your own research. Because only we individually can um, change the reality we are watching.
Right.
I
Yeah.
can't rely on you or anybody else to change it. I have to do the work.
Yeah.
And
That's the only way we're going to heal is
yeah,
by doing our own work, asking our own questions. And you know, I I came here partially awake, but the things that I saw growing up as a child and the things that I experienced were all of the darkness of humanity. I saw angels and demons, and I had to stand and discern which ones are the good guys. I had nothing but questions to ask in the moment and trial and error. As a small child, figuring all of this out, going all the way up through understanding and working through religions, and it's like, oh, it's sometimes I wish I had that like awakening later where I could just be like, just bring my higher self in, just show me how it's done. Let's ask some questions back and forth. But sometimes I think no, because that would, I think I think of how still and calm and comprehensive you are, where, you know, likely someone like myself had to come in and have this over a whole lifetime because I could have ended up manic. You know what I mean? And this can happen to people, which is why there are those of us that do understand. Because right now, what's happening is the band aid's getting ripped off, and it's getting ripped off really fast. And so there are going to be a lot of people that are going to need to be carried through this, right?
yeah,
Doesn't mean they don't get to experience it, and it doesn't mean they bypass asking their own questions, but they're going to need people to help explain what's happening, right?
yeah, yeah, that's right. And in a sense, I became very aware that what they were always telling me is you have to be your own savior.
Yes.
You are going to save yourself. When you save yourself, you save the planet.
Yes.
That's how it works. It doesn't work that there's some savior in the sky who's going to come and save you.
No,
Everybody has to do the work. And when people take individual responsibility for their own experiences and what they experience and how they experience it, and realize that they created that experience, which is very hard to actually accept. But
it is because
begin
people
to
are going
live,
to.
once you begin to live like that, you 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 almost understand how it works.
I like that you say almost, because it's making, people are going to say, why would I? And there's a lot of blame either on God or the self, right? Which are uh, kind of one and the same. And I'm loosely stating that. So I don't, I don't, I mean, people can say whatever they want about that statement, but it's, it's like, why would I do that to myself? Why would I X, Y, and Z? Like, why would I create that? I don't know. Let's go back up to your higher self and say, hey, what kind of process did you think, was going to happen here? Right. Or, people are going to say, well, why is God going to stand by and allow humans to eat babies?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I experienced that in my waking up and, approached my higher self and said, why is this happening to me?
Hmm.
I,
Exactly.
I didn't make this happen. And he kind of turned his head and said, no, you did. You
Yep.
made it happen.
Yep. And it doesn't matter how you look at it. And then when we realize that, just because we're in this linear space right here, right now, right, that's not really where we are. Right. And that's, going to take us back to, Colin explaining toroidal fields, going into timelines and doing all these other things. We're in many different places for many different reasons at a time. Is it okay if I take us back? There was a question back here. Um, Anne is asking, I just want to take us back a little bit because there's a really big focus on CERN right now, the gate. So she was saying, like, what about CERN? And this was going back to when we were talking about being an architect and kind of like, going into the matrix a little bit more. Um, what are your thoughts on what's happening there?
At CERN.
Hmm.
Well, you only have to look who were the people who decided to build CERN, the cabal.
Mm,
Okay, so that is the first thing that you have to raise. And why would they spend billions of dollars building a 25-mile tunnel that goes around between Switzerland, Germany, and France in that
mm,
region? And they call it certain sets of basically it's circular structure. So what they're doing is trying to create a vortex of energy. And that vortex of energy is designed to try to destroy the work that the grid keepers did here to restore the grids. Okay, and all this energy that they say they're looking for the God particle and all this other scientific nonsense, they are not. What they're trying to do is restore Earth's grids to the way they were before the grid keepers changed them back to the way
right.
they should.
Back to their AI grid system.
Yeah, but that's only one reason. But these beings who are involved in this whole project are very, very evil beings.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've even seen videos of them having satanic ceremonies that, if you just look at all the symbology around CERN, it's totally satanic, and it's totally evil. And what they're trying to do is, uh, but it's on many levels. I mean, even this 5G stuff that they're trying to impose on people, and the inoculations that put a little chip in your body, and it's all designed to control consciousness on this planet. Because I'll tell you why they're doing that. Because they are shitting themselves. Because humans are waking up. Yeah. And like me, I mean, I was just an ordinary guy. What did I know about all this stuff before? But I learned, and I'm learning still. And everyone, I have an amazing Facebook group of people. And when I look back 5, 10 years ago, the narrative has changed completely on my Facebook page. People are getting it
Yeah.
on an astronomical scale. If one only looks at how politics is changing in America and how many people are realizing that, hey, there's a force out there that stole our election. Who are these guys? What are they? What are they doing on this planet? Why are they doing this to us? Do they have the right to do that? And people beginning to ask the right questions, because when you ask the right question, the right answer will come.
Exactly. I love it. I think this week is going to be a pretty intense week. I think there's a nice little reset that happened this weekend. Um, so I can't wait to see what comes up. I think we're going to have a little bit of a rough summer over here, but you know, it's okay, right? Witness, transmute, move on. Witness, transmute, move on. Collect the pieces, put it back together. I've been in the grids. I've actually been on the other, in other dimensions, learning. I'm in school learning from my higher self, from my teams, from you, from, other people that I speak to in the third dimension that I know I'm working with in higher dimensions. Um, and learning how to there's a lot of us learning how to move in and out of our dragon bodies, which is great for grid keeping, because we can span multiple timelines at a time, which is phenomenal. So I just say they don't stand a chance. I've watched their AI dragons collapse the second I move into dragon bodies, so I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought, bitches. I'm not trying to be an ass, but I'm kind of being an ass about it, because I'm
Yeah,
like, it's been a long time coming. You know what I mean? It's been a
yeah,
long time coming. I love Barrett is saying zookeeping. Yeah, it's like zookeeping. So many
yeah.
amazing comments in here.
And we've been aided and abetted by higher dimensional beings
Hmm.
who are pretty determined that in this ascension cycle that we're going through, that we will succeed. Nothing is going to stop what's going to happen.
No,
You know, the
no,
cabal throw the toys out of the cot. We don't mind. Goodbye. Uh, you can plan as all these devious methods and false flags. And they're going to throw a lot of false flags. I was told they're going to come soon. Lots of
and
it.
I know, and it looks really scary. I just hold your own, right? Don't give in. Just don't give in, and hold your own, because this too shall pass. And
And think to do not get attached to what is happening,
yeah,
And it was like me standing, in front of all these 12 feet beings.
mm,
I just had to stay neutral
yeah,
and watch what was happening and not get involved, and not allow my emotions to express themselves because within myself, I was crapping myself.
I know.
But I just had to take control and say, okay, I'm just going to watch what's happening because that's what I've been told to do. My higher self explained out work. And just by watching what is happening, you actually detach from the outcomes.
Right.
You don't create the outcomes in your mind and your thoughts and your emotions. So when you do that, you're actually creating the outcomes. Just detach from the outcomes and say the outcomes can be very different from the way that my normal human response will produce. That I can change that and go back into what is called self-control. And when we begin to control ourselves, you know, and stop being controlled from outside of ourselves, that's when we can really create change. So that when they create these false flags, don't attach to them. They don't mean anything really. They're just games that people play,
That's
games that these devils play.
Yeah, that's how we go back and heal the past, present, future, however you look at it. You have trauma in your life. You can go back to that time and space in that hologram, in that memory, and re-witness it from a neutral position. And that's how we heal it.
Yeah,
And that shifts the timelines, right? And the thoughts create timelines, right? Or they create potentials. And so you can like bring these back into um, in alignment, to be able to collapse all those potentials, so you don't have open pieces of your light body everywhere, right? um,
yeah,
by going back and witnessing these things, calling it all back. Now's a good time to call back all your body pieces.
yeah. No, it's exciting. I actually, I live sometimes where I feel very sad because of I know people are submitting to this drug that they're taking into their bodies, and it dumbfounds me. And it makes me a little bit sad. But on the other hand, I know that we have to go through this period of time because it's all been orchestrated, and it just depends. It depends which side am I going to be on. Am I going to fall on the right side or the left side?
Yeah.
And you know, and I have to determine that.
Yeah.
And I'd like to make people aware there are only two kinds of people on this planet. They're the righteous and the unrighteous. There's not black and white and yellow and green and pink and blue and all the other colors. There's not male and female and all these other divisions that they try to cause around us. There's only the righteous and the unrighteous. And this is the harvesting for the righteous.
Right. Correct. I love that. I love that because it's about they try to do a divide and conquer. I'm going to say two things at once. Barrett and Patrick are both commenting, and they're very much complimenting each other. Barrett is saying self-control is also determined on the fuel we put in our bodies, as everything is energy. We must be select in what we put in our bodies. And as that Patrick follows up with roots dig deep into the dark and decay, so the branches can ascend high into the sky and experience an open space. There's just so many beautiful comments in here today. Thank you, everybody. I mean, this is just amazing. Your biological body is a powerful feedback machine. Yes, Barrett. Um, going into so much to think about. And Lyndon Blossom is saying, don't say sorry when we express such a beautiful emotion. This was when you were crying, Colin. Like, absolutely. That's just, ah, it's beautiful. Like what we're experiencing, what we have the opportunity to experience is beyond words. It's beyond anything. And uh, to be an electromagnetic multidimensional being having a human experience is unique, and it's really kind of cool, right? But there have been all these times of us just really effing it up. uh,
Yeah,
so it's like, you know we came here so we could touch, feel, right? We could express all these different emotions, these all of these emotions, and what does water feel like on our body, and what is um, how can sexual intercourse be an expression of the God self, and like all of these things, right? And then we get kind of like stuck in their loop, can't seem to get out of it, and then it becomes obsession and possession, and on the stories go, and it's like, oh my gosh, when do we go back to having an opportunity to be these beings in a human body and like actually be free of the chains, right? Which
yeah.
is what we're moving towards. And Patrick says tears show when our bodies are overwhelmed by powerful emotions. Yeah, I read somewhere that crying, orgasm, and one other sensation comes from the same spot in the brain. Laughter, crying, and orgasm come from the same spot in the brain. I don't know if that's true. I just remember that I read it somewhere one time.
I don't know if they come from the same. I think they might come from the same spot in your soul, but not
Soul.
your
Yeah,
body.
that would make
They
sense.
generated from the same area of the soul, which is called levity, where you don't take things so seriously.
Mhm.
You know, so you can give yourself over to joy and bliss and laughter and expressing oneself, with another person, and giving them the same kind of, and having that reciprocal relationship with another person. So yeah, it's not a thing that comes from the brain; it comes from the soul,
Mhm.
uh, and it's very important to have that. You know,
Mhm.
I every single day go onto YouTube and I watch some comedy because then I can laugh. And I
Yeah.
know that when I resonate with that laughter energy, it's create waves.
Yes, we need to laugh.
Yeah.
We need laughter.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, one of the first protections my higher self taught me, I said, well, because I was starting to get buffeted by, like bad people, bad energy around me. And I said, what do I do? He said, laugh.
mm,
I said, why? I said, because the energy of laughter, they can't stand it.
yeah.
They don't like joy. They don't like bliss. They don't like an orgasm.
They
And
don't
when
even
they,
understand it. That's,
yeah,
so
yeah, because they've totally abandoned themselves
mm,
to um, control and controlling. They are very low vibration energy beings, and they try to keep us in low energy vibration. And it's up to us to stop doing their stuff.
yeah,
We've got to do our own stuff. You know, we got to laugh and have joy and peace and love and respect for each other. And that's so important on this planet, and that's what's now. Just let me explain uh, what is going on in the higher dimensions. They
please.
told me that what they require on a planet is a critical mass of people who are open to higher dimensional understanding and thinking. Okay, who live righteous lives, who live self-controlled lives, who control their thoughts, control their emotions, don't give themselves over to carnality and immediacy, but uh, have hearts for love and goodness, and are able to express that. And I'm seeing that more and more on the planet. People are being so generous and kind and loving towards each other. I watched the Trump rally yesterday, and the people, they were so excited, just to be part of this movement, of goodness and fighting against the others who want to destroy our planet and destroy our countries. It's a worldwide thing. It's not just in America, but it's happening worldwide. I see it here in South Africa as well. A lot of people rising up against government and government control and you know and when that critical mass starts to work, it creates an energy pattern, and people may not understand what I mean by energy patterns, but the universe has a design template, a universal creation and design template. And when this planet begins to resonate and bring the pattern of that universal creation and design template. So at the moment, it's all chaos. But when that design pattern, a template begins to emerge, then that enables our higher selves to do the work that they want to do, on us, but on the planet, but not to intervene, but they are like being the magnet that will draw us into our future. They don't want to directly, they don't want to yank us in, well, they yanked me out of my complacency.
They'll pull a couple of us out.
But on a worldwide scale, they want to yank us out of complacency.
Yeah,
You know, and to understanding and knowing, you know, people want to believe here, but believing is optional.
yeah.
Um, when
It
you
is.
have the certainty of knowing, that is a different experience altogether.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Huge, huge difference. There's a big within the knowingness, there's a connection that's happening for us all right now. Um, should we want to integrate it with grace and ease? It's a high heart opening, an eighth chakra opening, which can then connect into the brain. So it's a heart brain awakening. And,
Yeah,
when we're able then to get out of the mental body, which is easy for them to control, right? and drop
Yeah.
into our high heart center, and we authentically, organically open our high heart, they they can't capture us in them, right? Um, it's just, this is our organic crystal heart. And I'm sure maybe we've lost some pieces along the way, but that goes into the calling it back, call your crystal heart pieces back, put it back together. And there you go, right? A
Yeah.
little bit of
Yeah.
grace, ease, faith, and love is going to go a long way on this journey.
Yeah. 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 We're making great progress though, and one of the purposes of why I wanted to talk about the subject is I want people to really understand that our higher selves are a unique community of beings. They're not all blue avians. In fact, there are some blue avians who are demonic
Yeah.
and they're fallen angels. But there's a whole range of beings. There's, the Palladians who are very tall, blonde-headed beings who look exactly like humans. So if you met them in the street, they would just seem like very tall people, but
Hmm.
that exactly like human beings. And there are many other beings out there. In fact, there's some draconian races who are also helping in this cause because they don't like the fact that part of their community and species fell from grace and fell from heaven, uh, and all of those beings have one thing in common is that they know how the universe works,
Yeah.
and they want to create a harmonious, coherent, and um, you know, a creative universe so that people are free to create and to be, you know, but they have to have the knowledge. They have to know how it works.
I have a question for you, Colin, because I think I've heard this before. When we are walking out and about and we see people that, maybe they're not human, and with the trained eye or the idea of how we feel energy signatures, you can feel an energy signature and know, I don't think that person's human, right? Or, whatever. Do the people or the beings that are not human, do you think that they're aware of who they are or unaware? As the human being is unaware of their capacity and capabilities, do you think it's the same thing?
Yeah, the first thing that you should understand, and we should do a show on this, is those beings that you are seeing come from you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are creating them in your space. Okay, but you might be creating something different in your space, but that thing that you are creating has been hijacked.
Mhm.
It's called a holographic insert,
I love it.
and these uh, beings are very good at doing holographic inserts. I actually saw how it worked because they let me observe it once. And a holographic insert will change the hologram that we are experiencing. So, and it's our expectation of the other being that creates the reality we experience. So, if you see someone in your reality field who you feel uncomfortable with, just ignore them.
Yeah, I love it. I
When
love
you
that.
attach, when you attach to them, they attach
Feel
to you.
attached to you. Yeah, I love that. Thank you. That's a question that comes up quite often. People ask, so I just thought I'd like toss that out there. Um, but you can feel, when you're in tune with yourself, you can. It's something that I teach all the time. It's so important to learn how to read energy signatures, so you know when there's a holographic insert being put into your own reality. Right? It's very
Yeah,
important to know. So, wow, look, can you believe it? We made it. We even made it over time, and only lost you momentarily, and super easy, quick comeback. So
yeah,
awesome. Um, I just want to say thank you to everybody that is here today and all of your beautiful comments and interactions. Um, we are just so grateful for you guys listening and being here with us on Sundays. I love it. I
Yeah,
absolutely love it. Thank you. And thank you so much, Colin. I know you're going to have some ending words, tie up some loose ends on your way out. But I just want to say that I love you so much and I'm so grateful for you every day. Thank you.
love you too. Yeah, just so people know, I started doing some posts about the international and worldwide deep state. Most people think that the deep state only relates to individual countries, but I'm wanted to do some posts about how it works internationally and
Beautiful.
between countries. And unfortunately, my posts, as I was typing them, they would just literally disappear off my
Oh,
computer.
imagine that.
So I decided, well, I'm going to put them on my Patreon account, and unfortunately, people got to pay for that. But if they email me or text me once I've done the whole expose of the international deep state. In fact, I'm going to try to find some way I can do the whole expose, somewhere else on another platform, so that people can go there and read it and download it. But it's very fascinating how it actually works because people are unaware of something called the diplomatic corps. And the diplomatic corps are diplomats in different posted from their countries around the world to other countries. And how they work and how they work together, uh, how they orchestrate it, and how they um, manipulate countries together. And they work in a silent kind of way because everything I discovered when I became involved in it, everything is secret.
Yeah,
You, it's all about need to know, and anything above that level of need to know, you'll never know.
right.
So they only tell you what you need to know, and the people below you only need to know a certain amount of information. So there's a vast amount of secrecy, and there's also a vast amount of what I call coded language between them. They speak in code when they don't want other people to understand what they actually say. So they will give hand gestures or give expressions on their face. They'll drop just one word, and the person will nod to say, "Yes, I understand what you're saying," or "No, I don't understand." And 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 so they speak in this coded language, so that people who don't know won't understand what they're speaking about. And I experienced that a lot when I was in the banking industry, you know, being part of this spy network actually. And I didn't know that I was being part of the spy network. I just thought I was just doing a job. But
Mhm.
in actual fact, I was being part of a very vast spy network of international organizations, governments, corporations, banks. So people must know about this because I think it's the next level of exposing the deep state.
Yep. Yep.
People don't understand how it works at that level.
I love it. I love that you're doing this. Thank you. It's puts a whole new spin on why a corporation or an organization is called an entity. And I love
Yeah.
it. I can't wait. Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
So the writings of Colin Joe. .com, and then also we'll get the links going for Patreon, so you guys can find him on Patreon. I'll put this on YouTube, and you'll see his links in there. So
Yeah. Okay. That's all I wanted to say about that.
thank you.
Oh,
I
and
can't wait. I can't wait.
people can find me on my website, The Writings of Colin Joe, and they can find my writings and lots of information there. The reason I didn't put this exposure on my website is because I don't want my website to be attacked.
Yes.
I
Hmm.
don't want your Patreon check.
Yeah, and
Uh,
we'll see what happens. I left Patreon and went to Kajabi. Which is a little more organized, but we'll see see how it goes, right? A lot of
yeah,
people, they're finding us everywhere, right? So we're just gonna have to keep getting creative and migrate. Move, move, move.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
This
all
is the
right.
war. If people
Yeah.
don't know, they're in a war.
Yep. Yep. All right, Colin, much love to you.
And
Much love
too
to
much.
all of you guys. We'll
Yeah.
catch you later on the flip side.
Yep. Yeah, there or in there.
Yep. Bye, everybody.